Hello and welcome back to Cube World. I've been covering the updates on this wonderful game as Wollay releases them, usually in big chunks. Today I'm covering a specific topic from some news recently sent out, the new dungeons. If you'd like to learn more about the other many changes coming to Cube World with this big update when it's finally released, check out my Cube World Update News series. I think I have like 3 or 4 of those videos already made on the channel and we cover a lot on them. Cube World brought many of us in for its beauty, or the stellar combat, the fun Zelda-esque world, the fun moments with your friends. There's a lot of reasons as to why we loved Cube World. We had exploration, variety in the areas you play or find, hundreds of different enemies to face, challenging and fun combat, a leveling system that pushes you to continue and get stronger to unlock more, the pets, the mounts, the crafting, the gliding. Oh my god, the gliding. It was so fun. There was a lot to do and enjoy, but it was all pretty basic when you think about it. Then we have the boss fights. We have the various enemies you can find that are extra strong and tough as nails. You might find them at random locations, or more likely, you'd find them under the swords hanging in the air over an area on your map. The objective you were given is simple: defeat the boss. Often these bosses are just bigger, scarier looking versions of an enemy you faced before. They have different mechanics and things that they can do, but a good example of what they'd look like would be, I don't know, a big skeleton warrior, for example. He'd be surrounded by various groups of skeleton fighters that make up his merry band of bad guys. Then you'd fight your way through, sort of clear a path, get rid of enough enemies, then face the boss, defeat this big boss slowly through good challenging gameplay, and then your reward is awesome loot and tons of experience to help you level and power your character. These boss fights were extremely good for loot and leveling, so they eventually become your primary goal. Hunt the deadly enemies of the land. This would then take you from zone to zone, different biomes, discovering tougher enemies and completely new environments, taking you away from that safe green forest to the lands of ice or hot deserts, magma zones, or even an open sea. There was so much variety in the areas you would play in. But then we had the big brutish rares, the giant ogres or shades, the dinosaurs and more. These were much more interesting with their new mechanics that you'd need to look out for or you'd be crushed. And don't forget the fact that they can destroy the world and the environment as you fight them. Once the fight is over, you can really appreciate how much damage those things could actually do. So never fight one near a town, you destroy it. And man, don't forget the way these monsters sounded. Oh my god, they were so intimidating. It was really well done, the audio in this game, which is only going to get better with all of the new music we're going to see in the game as well that we've been able to hear in his SoundCloud. So from just those things, we had a fun, solid game, and we'd do it 50 times and still love it. Maybe we do it 500 times and maybe still enjoy it. 5,000 times? Actually, I think I'm kind of tired of doing the same thing over and over, which is why most of us stopped playing eventually. We played it to death, we loved it, we did it many more times than we ever should have, but eventually it does get boring. Now, during your travels, you'd find dungeons. They might be big castles filled to the brim with enemies and a boss somewhere in them, with lots of extra hidden loot in vases or tables. This gave you variety in your boss hunting combat to a new level. It gave you a new form of exploration. Now, inside these dungeons, you'd find tons of enemies grouped up together, which would make them pretty hard to progress through, because if you were going alone or even when you're part of a team, it was really easy to be overwhelmed due to how tight-packed these dungeons could actually be. It'd be really hard to pull one enemy and take him down without pulling 16 others who would then attack you all at once. Don't forget the few traps that show up in these places. They were very basic, but at least they were there to look out for. And then of course, don't forget, you would eventually find the boss, kill him like any other boss, get your loot, and then leave. Overall, the dungeons were simple and basic, but they were well worth doing for the XP and loot alone. So you'd be happy to find them. You know, they weren't all castles. In a desert biome, you'd find a temple or a pyramid that you'd delve into, and you'd go explore and loot the treasure. It was cool. But the problem was that they all worked the exact same, which was really disappointing. It didn't matter what it looked like on the outside. Ultimately, you'd go in, there'd be a bunch of enemies, a couple traps, and then a boss. Became repetitive with not enough variety once you were in them. You just do it because they were worth doing, not because it was fun after you'd done it the 3rd time. So the issue overall with these dungeons was their waste of potential. There's just so much you can do with designing a dungeon in this type of world, so much limitless variety and ideas you could just have, but we have games that are actually built solely on going through dungeons now that are really fun, so it was a shame to see these dungeons in Cube World be so basic? But wait, I have good news, and that's the point of this video. Wollay has brought out new information about dungeons recently. He showcased a lot of the things he's doing in a video. Check it out. This is so huge, guys. The simple variety is going to be so good, so great. I can already hear the stories my friends are going to tell me of the different dungeons and stuff they found in them, you know, what happened inside of them, or maybe what I'll find and tell them about, what I'll discover. And then, of course, what we're going to face together in these places as a team when we go out there as a group. And the main vibe I get from these is that they're really similar to how Necropolis are doing their dungeons. It was recently updated with a brew update with Necropolis, and in the trailer for that, you see great examples of fun things you can do in dungeons. It seems like Wollay is actually taking a very similar approach, and that's a really good thing. For a long time, he's talked about how he wanted to make them better, bigger, more interesting, and it really looks like he's succeeded at that. Don't forget all of the many quests that we're going to be doing in this big Cube World update, and I bet it will include these dungeons somehow. If you're sent to face what's inside it, maybe retake the land or the walls that were lost, maybe you find someone inside the dungeon that needs help, you never know. Wollay has been working on these things for 3 years, and the variety of ideas that I can come up with when I just think about it for a few minutes is quite a lot. But then compared to what Wollay will have no doubt come up with his creative mind and the time that he's had, my ideas are going to be nothing compared to what he's got. I just can't wait to see what else he's got in store for us. I hope this new info was exciting for you guys, because it really had me pumped up. If you'd like to learn more about every update confirmed in specifics for the new Cube World update, then you can check out the Reddit post listing everything we've been shown. I'll leave the link to that in the description. Otherwise, you can always check out the Cube World update news series. Thank you so much for watching and listening, guys. I hope I could remind you of the fun of Cube World and help Wollay in some small way build that excitement once more. I can't wait for this update. Whenever that is going to be released, who knows, but be assured, when it does come out, I'll be covering it here in great detail. I will see you guys next time. Goodbye for now.